Is predictable revenue dead in 2026?
So yes, the tactics of predictable revenue are dead. Metrics around response rates are irrelevant now. The basic principles are alive and well. No matter what happens with technology, if you invest in relationships, you're going to do better. You're going to be okay, or you're going to be better than you would be.
Good morning. This is Julian Castelli. I'm the host of the Growth Elevated Leadership Podcast, where each week we talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders in the tech industry. Past guests have included CEOs and CXOs of great companies like Workfront, CHG Healthcare, Pathology Watch, InMoment, Canopy, and the San Francisco 49ers, and many more. This episode is brought to you by Growth Elevated. At Growth Elevated, we are a community of tech founders, CEOs, and CXOs who are committed to working together to share best practices and learnings in an effort to help all of us become better leaders. We do that through educational programs like this podcast, as well as our blog, and of course, our events, including our annual Ski and Tech Summit in beautiful Park City, Utah. So if any of that sounds interesting, please check us out at growthelevated.com and subscribe to this wherever you listen to your podcasts. Today, I'm super excited to welcome Aaron Ross to the program. Aaron is an author and a speaker and a leader in the tech industry. He wrote the famous Predictable Revenue book, which was a seminal book in my sales and leadership education. He wrote From Impossible to Inevitable, and coming soon, he's going to talk to us about his new book, Predictable Income. Aaron is also a sales advisor and a global speaker and a board member. And he's a renowned expert in the field and a very sought-after speaker, and we're super grateful and excited to have him on the podcast today. Welcome, Aaron.
Hey, Julian. Yeah, happy to be here.
It's good to see you. How are things going today?
Yeah, it's good. And it's only a year ago. I was in Park City at your event. Now it was fun.
Yeah, we loved having you. I hope you can come again next year.
Yeah, like to.
You were in Los Angeles for a while. How long ago did you move to Scotland?
Yeah, that's why it's morning for you, but it's afternoon for us. 6 years ago, right before COVID, literally. And everyone says, why would you move from Los Angeles to Scotland? And again, we've got a lot of kids. We've got 10 kids. And we just felt like we want to be in Europe. And we'd rather have the Scottish weather than the Los Angeles culture, is the short answer.
Because I think the Los Angeles might beat it out in weather. But yeah, you're very different cultures, I suspect.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it's great being here. We haven't quite traveled.
A lot less traffic, right?
Yeah, a lot less traffic. I mean, there's a lot of things to like about here. The weather, yeah. I mean, it's the weather, but it's right on the doorstep. It's in Europe. It's on the doorstep of the continent. It's a short train ride down to London. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I love being here. And it's a beautiful city. It's all like stone and trees and green, and it's a central city.
It's very Harry Potter, right?
Great coffee, yeah, and of course Harry Potter, a lot of magic and myth and gloomy, scary tale, all sorts of stuff there. But like
it's pretty neat and magical. That's fantastic.
I'm not a big fan of whiskey, so yeah, like living in Cuba.
Oh man, you're in the best place in the world for it.
I know. It's again like if you're living Cuba, and you like cigars, but not a huge fan. I can tolerate it, but not a fan of it.
Well, I managed to visit you once, and I look forward to our next visit together there. So, well, let's catch up on what's going on in the sales world today. Aaron, I want to let you know when I was my first time CEO, I hired a head of sales, and the two of us got your book, and we read it, and we got together, and we were looking like, man, can we do all this stuff? I remember hearing it being referred to as the sales Bible of Silicon Valley. That was Predictable Revenue. What was the story behind that? What made you want to write that book?
Well, to that specific question, I think there's always been, I think there's some people who just have a calling to write a book, whether they realize it or not. And I did. I thought when I was in my 20s, it might be like fiction, but it's just never, it's like working at Salesforce, and there, I had a tech company that went bankrupt, and partly because I didn't know sales. So this is probably late 20s, around 30. And so I got a job at Salesforce.com. This is like 2002, right after the .com, bust. In the junior job of answering the 800 line, inbound leads and phone calls. And so I knew I wanted to learn sales, and so getting a job in sales. And then I ended up from
A company called Salesforce is probably a good place to learn sales, right?
well, exactly. You figure, selling's a CRM.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was so clueless about that stuff at the time.
I didn't know what a CRM was either.
Yeah. And, I'd had in my company before, we'd hired as a VP of sales, but I kind of abdicated understanding versus delegate.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's why I was like, oh yeah, founders really need to sell, themselves by hand for a while, just for so much pattern recognition
Right.
um,
They have unique powers, right?
yeah, it was a different time, and I was really young, so that led to. But I knew if I went to Salesforce, I didn't let my ego get in the way because it's a very junior role, junior title,
Right.
junior compensation.
So you took a step back to make a leap forward.
I took a step back, ego-wise, to take a leap forward, yeah, and learning and opportunity.
Mhm.
It's like, I'll just make something happen there, and then I ended up pitching and creating an outbound, prospecting team, doing ended up being a lot of outbound email at the time, some cold calling, but different types of calling, and helped almost double Salesforce.com's revenue growth, and added within a few years an extra 100 million, and probably within a few years of that, an extra billion in revenue to them. And wrote the predictable revenue book. And
That
I
was
think a
back
lot,
in 2011 when you wrote the book, right?
that's when it came out. So I wrote it. Basically, what happened was over the course. If you ask me how long did it take to answer, how long did it take to write the book? Well, I did it over the course of like 5 years. So, like I said, I was blogging. I was blogging to find my voice, but I budgeted for topics, and then
Oh, did you use the blogging to kind of come up with the nuggets and the chapters? 'Cause
yeah,
that's I do some of that too with this podcast.
yeah. And at the time, I kind of had this. I was single. I didn't have. Now I've got 10 children, but I could afford to write when I was inspired,
Yeah.
and But I knew there was a book I wanted to do. So I think that I never wrote a book to kind of make money. It was always I wrote a book because it was a calling, and I still have that calling. So yeah, and it took, but I think 5 years of editing blog posts. But then, what helped make the book better, and I recommend this to anyone who wants to do a book, is by kind of working with. I did some consulting, working with customers, clients, and talks.
Were you
Just
testing out the ideas with that work?
refining, distilling, because you never really know, like, all the stuff. How can you make it short and sweet and impactful? And it
Right.
was like a couple hundred, 210 pages, 200 pages. So pretty
You
short.
know, I think that the fact that it was short and sweet and digestible was one of the strengths. I remember when it first kind of crossed my path, I wasn't like overly enthusiastic to read another book, but I remember reading it and saying, okay, that one was worthwhile because I was able to digest it and put things into practice. It was very, I don't know, is it formulaic almost? It was kind of like the how to build the sales machine or the factories, the way I remember describing it.
Yeah.
Being a little overwhelmed that there were so many steps, but you made it very clear as to, hey, here are the steps, and broke it down into very easy to understand, digest components was what I remember
Yeah.
being impacted by the book.
I'm really focused on like what are the big things that make the biggest difference. So there's not a lot in there in sales process, right? There's not a lot on there on comp plans. There's a little bit. The main things were, the core ideas to sum up the book were, to create predictable revenue, you need predictable pipeline. And
Hmm.
by the way, at that point, that was basically still a new idea to break apart this idea that salespeople create a pipeline. Okay, separate pipeline generation and the jobs to be done of pipeline generation, inbound, outbound,
Right.
signing new customers,
Specialization. Yeah.
the specialization core, right? And that's, by the way, we can talk about, if that still applies or not and how. So that was a
I
big
definitely want to get to that because
yeah,
there was a nice period where, the formula that you put together in that book was repeatable and predictable. And I'm sure you talked to a lot of people who came and told you about their success with it.
yeah, I mean, it's a million. I don't know how much money has been created from that process, but a lot.
Yeah,
Lots of I can't count how many people said it doubled their business, and um,
that must be incredibly rewarding if people come share that story with you.
um, yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. It's all good. It's that and like speaking and writing the book. There's a lot, you know, around the rewarding parts, but I think again, one just not to digress, but the idea of like lots of people using something to me, it's all like ephemeral. Like what's a lot more rewarding. I do like that. It's when one person says something or I see one person, if it's a message, but compared to having like kids and a wife and family, it's like the next number of people, right? There's something else going on. So,
Sure.
but yeah, that was the book. But specialization, key idea. This seeds, nets, and spears, like treating different.
Yeah, so I remember that, the nets and spears
Yep,
was
that's a key
great.
idea.
Yeah.
And there was so it's most known for like structured outbound prospecting.
Yep.
But again, that's built on these other things. And I think the last idea that doesn't really, I haven't really heard people say this, but there's a lot around the management side around like collaborating with your team versus, either telling them what to do all the time or, a lot of like manager to team collaboration.
Yeah. No, I remember really, really enjoying it. Well, here's the $85,000 question, right? It's 15 years later, 2026. Is predictable revenue dead? I know when you came out to our event last year at the Growth Elevated Leadership Summit, you gave a talk on that, and that's why I wanted to share that with the podcast audience here. Is predictable revenue dead in 2026?
Well, over the years, I've seen a lot of companies do this, and there's always someone who comes out, and honestly, it started with Brian Halligan at HubSpot. Love him, but and then lately he's been guys like Adam Robinson on LinkedIn. I don't know, but it's a regular thing where some guy starts up. He's like outbound. It interrupts people. Um, you know, it doesn't work. It's annoying, and and it's dead. But what you need to do is X. So content marketing inbound. And for a while that works for them. And it's great. Honestly, it's great marketing. But then they always at some point switch to doing outbound. So that message stops because they realize they've plateaued or capped whatever their inbound is. They need to add more channels and go up market and so on and then outbound. And to be fair, so yes, the tactics of predictable revenue are dead. And the metrics around response rates are irrelevant now. The basic principles are alive and well. So specialization, predictable lead generation. Well, we have to have some caveats, but like specialization, more important than ever, right? Whether it's humans or agents, understand the different types of leads. So in the book, it was seeds, nets, and spears would be kind of word of mouth, outbound, and marketing. And that can be more finely sliced today, but you still have to treat different types of leads differently. You might be listening saying like, duh, but I can't tell you the number of times that executives look at dashboards and just lump all the leads together. And so, yeah. And the last thing, specialization, predictable lead generation. I think I said that in Seeds, Nets, and Spears. Like a lot of those fundamentals and collaboration. Now, there was something missing from that book, which was the first section of the follow-up book, From Impossible to Inevitable, which was nailing a niche.
Nailing a niche, yeah.
Yeah, it's ideal customer profile. So same idea, but we just took in the Impossible book. I did that with Jason Lemkin of SaaStra. We just really dug into the psychology, understanding why there's a gap between people, and I think it's realize this. If you haven't read Crossing the Chasm, it's a great book to read.
Fantastic book, yes, about specialization and nail your niche, right?
Yeah, kind of explain why there's a chasm to cross. And you really think about sales and marketing, it's just a psychological exercise of people getting to know each other. Is there fit or not? Hence, probably so many dating jokes about pipelines and leads and
Yeah.
But so the nailing a niche is more important than ever in the AI age. So I think most of the book, the principles, not the tactics, are actually more important now and will be. However,
Well,
sorry, I got
over the last couple years, I've talked to a lot of people in the tech world, and sales seems like it's harder than ever, and it seems like there's so many things that used to work don't work anymore. What are you seeing out there? Is this an economy thing, or is this a change of the way people behave and the tools and?
Yeah, I think so I mentioned this asterisk on predictable lead generation. So, where I believe, and I think this is a very foreseeable, look, you can just look, the amount of noise, overwhelm, option, apps, messages, that's only going to continue to explode.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. And you wake up and you get to your computer and it's just like throwing up at you almost, right?
Yeah. And so what happens is people's attention span becomes a little more jagged. They tend to rely more on trusted, for the most part, like trusted people, trusted brands.
Because if you're overwhelmed with so much, you go back to your default.
Yeah.
Where's my bedrock?
Yeah, so we can kind of talk about that, but on the predictability side of what's working, where I think explain this. And, I'm working on a new book with my partner in Brazil. The working title is called Phantom Revenue,
Okay.
and there's a couple key ideas in there. So I haven't talked about it that much, but one of them is the idea of trying to call out. And I pardon for the name. So one is linear mode and one's non-linear mode. Linear mode means you can kind of spreadsheet it out, right? It's the old predictable revenue method. It's the way that all the go-to-market stuff,
It's
all the
math and pipeline
yeah,
and
you X, you do Y, you have 6 steps.
conversion ratios.
Yeah, it's like, the marketing funnel. A lot of that will continue to work, but a lot of it won't with AI because of factors, noise, complicated buying processes, it's just stuff. Okay, let's done. Okay, so then what's become more important is this nonlinear. I don't have a better term, like quantum. It's basically you can't use a spreadsheet. With AI, for example, there'd be a lot more funnels where you have like signals. You're kind of like, well, we're doing all this stuff at the top, and kind of stuff kind of falls out to sometimes the second stage and sometimes the third stage, but we don't really know why. We kind of have a guess, but don't really know. And if we do enough volume, then stuff comes out the bottom. But so you can have some sense of one thing leads to another, but you have a lot less control. You have hopefully maybe influence. It's kind of like the same idea, which is if you create great content, it's the new version of what HubSpot did you right, which is if you create great content that people love, they're going to come back and they're going
Yeah.
to. So that part of going to be a lot less of the predictability, which is if I do 10 times X things, then I'll get 3 times Y.
Right. You can't just linearly increase it. And that's what people
Yeah.
are finding. They can't just add to the stack and get the predictable
No.
results anymore.
Yeah. So
It hit a natural ceiling, perhaps.
with the kind of like concrete activities, which is again, I do 10 I 10 things, and so that's going to be more of a thing, which is this, you can't spreadsheet it out. You can't control the inputs and outputs. You kind of have to trust that if you're doing good things, you're kind of like measuring what you can, but things that work out, and you're not gonna be able to predict your growth with a lot of concrete. Not that you can now, anyway. By the way,
I have found very few people, there's the barbell end of there's the hyperscalers that, are going to the moon, but the traditional companies that historically had pretty good sales predictability is becoming harder and harder.
yeah. So I think that's gonna be more the norm, for people, which is, like you can have your goals, but you just can't be too attached to how you hit them and when, and you just have to kind of keep
Focus on going in the right direction.
yeah, right direction in like, shorter term plans. Like, okay, whatever your plans are pretty much useless. 3-month plans are a lot more useful. In big picture, yes, you'll have to manage cash and these things, but not over indexing on putting a lot of effort into big future plans when you really need to focus on short, doing more in the next 30 days, 90 days, and then evolving it to the next quarter type of thing.
Yeah,
So,
and being able to react to what changes, right? So being
yeah,
opportunistic.
I mean, because everyone had a war with Iran in their budget, and their planning for.
Yeah, right. My God, the amount of surprises, you wake up and boom, it's another crazy surprise. So you have to be able to react, right?
Yeah, but what you could do is, each quarter, surprise number 1, surprise number 2. There are
What to do with this quarter surprises.
yeah, but the
Yeah, I
weird
mean,
thing,
imagine being a physical goods company importing things and trying to predict what was going to happen with tariffs. I mean, it's crazy.
this is the futures now, which is it started with especially COVID and now AI. There's this, there's tariffs. I don't know, there's always something, right? And
It's very hard. Your title was predictable, and just in terms of markets like predictability and stability, and I think the markets haven't had that for some time right now. Fortunately, the markets haven't done too terribly yet, but
yeah,
I don't know what's holding it up. Hey, but there's 5 things that you kind of concluded in our talk that I wanted to go through that maybe might be some ideas for the future. You talked about internal relationships and culture. There's 5 things that you in your talk that you talked about as things to explore in the future that you felt like you had some confidence in. Internal relationships and culture was number 1. Sales relationships were number 2. Events were number 3. Systematic referrals were 4. And personal publishing was 5. Which, that was a year ago when you shared that with us. Which of those have you seen some good success with?
Yeah, well, I'll take a step back because there's a core premise, for what I see with AI and post AI is that no matter what happens with technology, if you invest in relationships, you're going to do better. You're going to be okay, or you're going to be better than you would be. So, relationships could mean investing in your relationships with your team, your executive team, with your customers, how your salespeople, if you have them, interact with your customers. It could be actually with your family, your friends. There's a lot of forms of relationships. So those were examples. Okay, if you take that as a high level idea, like, what do I do with that? Well, okay, so with your team, that's where those examples, like,
Yeah.
getting to know your team better. Uh, so with our business, my partner in Brazil, we call it. We want to. For us, we look at building a culture of kicks and hugs, right? So there's actual caring, which is
Mhm.
harder than ever over screens. You know,
Yeah.
actual caring, but also when people need a kick in the butt. So it's kind of balancing both the find the right balance.
I think you got your next title for a book there, Kicks and Hugs. I think that's pretty catchy.
Yeah, maybe. Uh, but that could be through your executive. I mean, you could use that. I mean, I try to do that with our kids too. So, it doesn't work as well with your spouse. I've tried, trust me. That's only hugs. She's the kicks, I'm the hugs. Um, but so that I'm just trying to bring on these examples of where can you invest. And everyone's to be different. So some companies are investing a lot in community and partners. Some might be need to invest in their team. Some might be doing. There's a lot that are doing the publishing, which is like and what I've done, right? Create relationships at scale through books, and people do it through LinkedIn content. So that's like a one to many relationship. So there's a lot of ways to do it. A lot of companies doing in person events because you get that extra, level of connection with people.
Yeah.
They're all good, right? It's almost like saying, "Well, which vegetable should I eat?" Or maybe that's not a good one. What exercise routine? How should I exercise? Should I do like high intensity or I don't know? Like you got to kind of what's your personality, your type, your schedule, and like find like one thing that you really can get better at. The place to start, and not try to.
But the vegetables or the exercise are relationships in general. So lots of different ways to build authentic relationships.
Yep. Now, for me, I don't know if I've seen anything like work in particular out there. It's not really what I'm keeping an eye on. I would say that, I think a lot of executives there's one other core idea, but let me just so on the relationship side, like what I'm working on, what I'm drawn to. So I would say I'm working on a bunch of things now, which is mostly because I just want to. It's not because I kind of penciled out like what the future is going to be, but I'm inherently drawn to some things. I just know they're going to work out. Like I know relationships, these examples will be a way for people to succeed, period, end of story. Uh, yeah, the specifics will be different. But what I'm personally doing is I'm writing more books. I've got half a dozen books underway. Could be over the next few years. Some are with partners, like I'm helping someone with a book that they came to. Some I'm doing myself. I just love books.
Yeah, you've been incredibly successful with it.
Yeah. And I'm just getting started. So for me, books are a way to create new relationships. So I like them because I get to put ideas into place into an artifact and share them with people at scale. But it's because I'm a book person. I love books, love reading books, I love story. So I'm not doing that again as I should do it because I'm drawn to it. And then the other thing is I'm doing, speaking again, getting to speak to people. Webinars aren't my thing, like in person. All right, it's another
Right.
way to build relationships, and I have fun speaking. A third thing I'm doing is partnerships. My business partnerships. I'm more of an amplifier than an operator. So I work really well when I'm helping someone else and making them better, versus there's some things I'm really good about doing the work, right? But they're not really business things. It's like books, ideas, speaking. It's I don't know, like strategery and content stuff that doesn't work well in a company org chart. Board member stuff, I'm more like thinking, applying, leveraging, amplifying relationships. So when someone has a business and or we have one together, if they're operating it, I'm helping amplify it, that works really well. So I have some of those going. And then lastly, crafting, as I've I use AI, I think a lot, comes and goes. I think I was like a top ChatGPT user, but not for coding things. It's mostly for like book ideas, capturing ideas, creating like cool projects that to me, I have a whole thing right now. It's under ironcrown.co, but old school ways, unscalable ways of connecting with people. Like I have a typewriter here I got because I'm going to send some typewritten letters.
Yeah, I see that.
I'm creating, I've got these I can create custom coffee brands. I haven't created them.
Really? Tell me more about that. I've been playing around with coffee lately.
Yeah. I mean, this is an example between I was creating these coffee brands just for fun. I'm like, this is cool. Like I'm having a good time doing it. I was doing it for my wife's business, and you can do it now. There's like a printer I found that can do digital bags, like 200 bags at like 50 cents a bag, and you could do small lot things, right?
So is this something like for an event or for a party, you can customize the brand of the coffee?
Yeah, so within a few months or sometime this year,
Fun gift, right?
yeah, exactly. I can go to a company, probably some go-to-market company, and be like, hey, you want to leave a cool leave behind at an event, 250 gram bags of coffee. We can just create a custom brand because it's just fun. Predictable fuel or something, whatever it is. Create a custom brand that's yours, and you leave behind. And you're not making money selling coffee. You're making money by creating a relationship with someone who might spend 5 figures or 6 figures with you.
Yeah.
Same thing with these kind of business cards. Called banana peel. They're like a funny Dilbert type playing cards.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna take packs, and I've got a business partner in Germany and one in Brazil, and they're gonna try sending these packs of cards out to people they want meetings with or with customers. And we're not sure. Like there'll be some things they can share online because they're funny cartoons, clever. You know, you but it's fun. I make myself laugh sometimes when I'm making these things. And so for me, it's like if I'm having a good time making these things, the other people have a good time receiving them. And it's stuff that again, AI can't. I'm using AI, but I don't see this being replaced by AI for this type
Right.
of like right brain EQ type of connection relationship. Something that's just different, and there's a human element of taste so far to these things where I get a bunch of ideas and I can it's like a conversation with a business partner. I'm like, okay, this is okay. We got to keep working it, working it, working it. And it takes a bunch of steps and end up with a great output that's funny. Uh, we could probably at some point share a screen. They're on a website or ironcrown.co we got some samples, but and now you can get
You have a
printed like 5 of them, 1 or 20.
so this is reminding me your new book is coming out. I think it's Predictable Income, right? That you're working on, and a core theme of that you were kind enough to share it with me is the ability to multitask and do lots of different things. And this is what you're describing right now, right? You've got your books, you've got your speaking, you've got your crafts, your business partners. Is that part of the idea of this new book that you can in today's world you can have multiple income sources going on?
Yeah, well, the book doesn't. The thing is, like I kind of feel like the way I work is so odd. It's hard to describe. It may not be a great example. However, what the book is great. The subtitle is basically how to create multiple income streams so you never have to depend on one job again. So
Right.
the
That's what made me ask, because it sounds like
yeah,
it's exactly what you're doing with your passions.
yeah, but the book would say find a job, like a salary job that has benefits is like your stability, your base. And then over time, do freelancing, entrepreneurship, and then over a long, long time, investing. And so, yeah, I do believe that. For me, I'm not a good fit and have been for like a real job, but things like, which could be retainer clients, board memberships, royalties. There's other sources of like recurring income I get because anyone who's done full-time consulting can tell you that it can be a grind. There's a
Yeah.
lot of great things about consulting, a lot of things that suck. A lot of great things about jobs, a lot of things that's,
Yeah. Nothing's perfect, right?
nothing's perfect.
Well,
So
with AI today and with all the enablement, it's easier than ever to be an entrepreneur and
yeah,
come up with a new idea and make something happen, just like you just described with those coffee bags.
yeah. Well, this is the trick, right? How often is technology like think back, what technology does it one of my card you can also get on a faster spinning hamster wheel.
Yes, indeed. Right. Like trying to juggle too many things.
Yeah, so the people in the corporate world, I mean, you have a chance to make more money than ever, but if you're on that corporate track, which doesn't mean you're in business, but it's more like the classic corporate track, which is you'll find what people do is they're going to work harder, be under more pressure, um, be surrounded by more stimulus, more FOMO. You have to, so it's going to make things better and worse at the same time. Because look, okay, you get a superpower, but everyone else has a superpower. So
There's a lot of technology that's changing what a superpower is these days, and
exactly.
every day you wake up, there's a new thing.
Yeah, there's a short term advantage to lots of people, but it's ultimately everyone's going to be have the superpowers in their own way. So unless you actually consciously kind of step off and kind of forge your own path, all the AI stuff is probably likely to lead to more, burnout and maybe more money, but also more anxiety and burnout. So that's my take. It's great. I love it. I mean, I use it, but I use it in a very supportive way, and I would love to use more of it and do more coding, but it's just not the right time for me. And so I use it more, all kinds of stuff for, again, like, the thing that's magical for me is you could take an idea, do a prototype very quickly, whether it's a book, a cover,
Totally, yeah.
whatever it is, and also just logging ideas and stuff. So there's a lot of great stuff, and again, listen to a lot of Elon Musk or people talk how in like a year or two things could get so crazy. For me, as much as I would be really interested in learning Claude Code and OpenClaw and that stuff, I don't really have a need for it. I don't really have the time to do it. That I don't want to make it a priority. And in 6 months, it's all going to be all
It is
good.
changing so rapidly that there's constant. You can take a few weeks or a month, and there'll be something new to learn.
Yeah. So it's like, for people who are really dying and super interested, great. That will help them. But if you're not, like, just wait till it'll catch up.
So, of all the different things you're focusing on, what are you most excited about?
I think I'm most excited, by a lot. So, the big picture, okay, small picture, I'm most excited about the cards because I've been working on them for a while, and I'm just waiting on my designer to finish the print ready version so I could get them printed, and then send a prototype to my buddy in Germany, and then he's gonna do the Portuguese version. So to actually hold those in my hand will be cool. Also, the predictable income book is almost ready in the next few weeks. That'd be cool. I like physical things.
When is that coming out?
In March, should be available privately. So we're gonna do it's available, and we'll tell our friends, try to buy them, do some
Exciting.
reviews, and yeah, it's been like 3 years. My Matt Smith, my co-author, he's came to me 3 years ago with this idea for this book. I'm like, that's a great idea, and he's like, oh, let's get it done in this draft in 3 months. 'Cause I think AI was still, and I was like, "Man,
Did you say up front? Did you warn it's gonna take a process?
I said, like, it's been a couple years," and he's like, "No way." 3 years later. Now, to be fair, I mean, can you write a book in a weekend? Yeah, I kinda did. I've done that. My first book, CEO Flow, I did that, and it was a good book, but to write, again, it's so easy to generate good. It's not hard to generate good stuff.
Or okay stuff?
The okay stuff, yeah, that's not a challenge, if you wanna succeed. So, again, another thing in the future is how can you figure out what you're actually drawn to and interested in, so you actually want to get better and better and better and better at it, and you can bring that certain vibe to it that you can't.
Yeah, if you have a passion for it, if you really
Passion.
are
Think about
interested,
any,
I
like,
love it.
yeah, popular musician, like, they've got something they bring to it that you can't always, or a dancer, you can't always explain it because, again, it's not
Get that from a
like
short prompt,
yeah,
the
so,
generic AI model.
and that's why, it took 3 years and with lots of breaks to get the book to the place where we were happy with it, not to write the book. There's, like, 3 major rewrites. Some of the books actually will take a lot less, like, I have 6 books with either myself or others are working on it on. There's one book called Eat, and Grow that I probably wrote in, like, 2 days, like, 2 years ago. I haven't touched it really since then. And it might be, like, another couple days of work to so sometime, like, predictable revenue, I wrote over 5 years in blogs, but then it took, like, days to put together, 3 days into a draft book, and then 3 months to kinda get all the little details right. So, going back to when people ask me how long it take to write, I'm like, it's kinda hard to explain. The number of hours wasn't that. It wasn't the number. There wasn't a lot of, like, writing hours, and I don't. But there's a lot of, like, thinking time and digesting time and distilling for me. speaking about it, talking about it. So it usually takes me, even the Eat Shit and Grow book, it's like weird stories from having a big family of 10 and supporting them financially, emotionally, physically. It's kind of living that with that for 15 years. And I've been thinking about this for like 10 years, but it hasn't been the right time to do it. So it's like, well, that book will take me 10 years it took 10 years with only like 5 days of actual like work.
But you were processing, organizing, prioritizing.
Find the right time. Lots of it's like the feeling of the right time, find the right partner. I don't have the right now. I'm looking for kind of a good book partner to help me shape it, like an agent slash developmental editor. So I'm not really touching it. I'm not going to do much with it until I find that person, which I think
It's baking in the oven somewhere.
exactly. Yeah. It's been composting.
So where can people find the new book about predictable income?
Predictable. So it's going to be on Amazon soon by the time this is out, but if not, predictableincomebook.com is the other place. And I'm sure on my LinkedIn and Substack, my Substack is freshair.substack.com, and I'll announce it there. I'm not an active newsletter person, but if you follow me on LinkedIn or Substack is probably the best place. It's freshair.substack.com.
Fantastic. Well, I can't wait to read the final version. I'm sure our guests will be excited about it too.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. And there's a lot of just interesting questions. Like, we don't even know what kind of business model really the book will do. Ideas, but yeah, it's just, I think again, this world going back to that nonlinear way of thinking and being okay with, I don't really know I know this is going to work. I don't really know how, and it doesn't make sense to try to focus on that yet. We're just going to take the next step. And with my partner, like, we just need to get a great book done. Once that's done, we'll figure out the next step.
See what opportunities it opens.
Yeah, because he's had a whole bunch of like, we could do this, that, and the other businesses, and all that thinking is, it's not wasted because it's never all waste but it's all irrelevant until we actually have the final.
Which ones are going to be right at the right time?
It's almost like, yeah, if you're gonna have a baby, you can obsess over, are you gonna all the clothes you're gonna get, but until you maybe know the gender. Yeah.
So you seem very comfortable. You have confidence that the answers will come, and you're not stressing out about all of it right now. Kind of back to the conversation we had at the very beginning of our call today. Is not be able to predict what happens next in the world. I think we are beings that want to put everything in our order and have structure and know what's going on, and we don't do very well with uncertainty, do we?
To some place, depend. Would you find that some people can deal well with uncertainty in some areas and not others, right? So it's not as a whole person, but I think that we want to feel safe. But safety can come. I have this conversation with my kids. I don't know if they receive it, but in my mind, safety is like, one form of safety is if I have enough money in the bank, then I'll be safe, right? Or if I meet the right person to marry, then I'll be safe. Both of those are not true, by the way.
What about your health? Yeah.
The other big is if I deal with all kinds of financial challenges and stuff, and I'm like a ninja with money. So no matter what happens, I'll be able to deal with it. That's a form of safety through confidence versus safety through, it's like you could either hire, live in an estate surrounded by high walls with security 24/7 that you never leave, or you learn to be a black belt in whatever, and then you can kind of go wherever you are, so that's kind of my version of safety. So that rather than trying to build a monolithic company or a lot of, money in the bank, for me, like, it doesn't have to be prepared, because you can prepare for an earthquake because it's going to happen at some point, but you want to be ready for kind of anything. To me, going back to relationships, which is with, my family, myself, which is like, what do I really want to do? What am I going to be great at? What do I want to be great at? And what do I want to do? And partners, I do feel like there's be lots of challenges, but it's all going to work out in some way. And,
And if you're flexible and adaptable and you have the confidence that you can do that, that's the old Darwinian most important human skill, right? Adaptability.
Yeah, and coming for me, my personal forge, I had 15 years of a father of 10, married with a father,
You've had to be adaptable.
you can't control anything, it's just all you can do is control yourself, and even not even that.
How are you going to react when the next surprise happens?
Yeah, and also, I would say that something that was really helpful too, besides having such a big family. So I had to learn how to, become a expert in emotional Krav Maga, we say, is doing ayahuasca over like half a dozen times over 15 years, right? Because now psychedelics, but like that actually was incredibly helpful in terms of looking at things a new way and just new perspectives and rewiring. And I know it's kind of I haven't done anything else, but like that actually was really helpful. So I know there's a lot more in the news about alternative ways to change your state of consciousness with psilocybin. I feel like if there's something in there that really is you're drawn to, yeah, I should try it out. It was hugely helpful to me.
That's awesome. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for joining us today. I can't wait to see the new books, and I can't wait to have you join us at the next Growth Elevated conference.
Yeah, if you bring in by then, I'll bring some packs of cards, some typewritten letters, some wax.
Yeah, send me some of that coffee. I'll let that idea. Let me know when that coffee comes out. Coffee likes come out.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Aaron. It was great talking to you this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Julian.